is Andrew ferenbach.
Okay, I was about to first start with telling you that I'm a scientist, but Henrik's tale of mosquito menace reminded me of a tale from my teenage years. Because I think most people, well, most guys, maybe not wishing to be sexist, go through a stage where they like to set stuff on fire. And, you know, work with me, guys, I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. And I was no exception, and I think everybody and their dog, or maybe not the dog, would see if they could make a flamethrower out of a deodorant. And so when in Scotland we don't have mosquitoes, we have midges, and we have various other flying idiots. And if one of them dared invade my bedroom, I'd hear this noise, and I wouldn't think, oh no, I would think, ha-ha, my chance to shine. I would flick the light on, grab my deodorant, grab my lighter, which my own mother bought me, I hasten to add, and flame that little thing into oblivion. So for me it was a treat. Hey, it's a guy thing. But also, yes, I did get beyond flaming a deodorant. I discovered how to make my own flamethrower, which was surprisingly effective. It's all about incomplete combustion, makes those yellow things. So I remember one time, or maybe more than once, when my sister had her first boyfriend, and I'd open the bedroom door just a little bit, and then set this huge burst of flame into a non-flammable area. And the first time they're like, oh my god! But then of course I explained myself. But then a few weeks later, she had a few other friends over, and I do the same thing, sneak up, open the door, boom, and then there's like 3 screams and one, hello Andrew. I'm like, oh, somebody's learned my habits. Anyway, now, couldn't contain myself. Now back to our feature presentation. I am in fact a scientist. Yes, I have the title of doctor. I can prance around calling myself doctor, but I don't, because I don't want to be called to someone having a heart murmur on a plane. Anyway, so as a scientist, normally people would ask, of course, what is it that you do? And in the past, I would say I work in cloning, which is completely true. But everybody and their dog would say, ooh, can you clone me? And it got to the point that I was thoroughly tired of that response. It was almost as if my job was cloning people to ask me that question. And so I had to change the script. So what did I do? While still telling the complete truth, if someone asked, so what do you do? I would say, I work in human genetic disease. That absolutely stopped people in their tracks. There is no jokes about that. And so they would go, ooh, what genetic disease? Hoping it was something embarrassing, like compulsive flatulence. But no, I would say, oh, the disease I work on actually causes intellectual disability in children. I mean, yes, absolutely torpedoed any possibility of stupid questions. I mean, the only time I got a slightly weird response was actually at a Halloween party, where a girl dressed as Harley Quinn, big fan, asked me, what do? I work on human genetic disease. I work on a genetic disease that affects children. She goes, oh, all the children? I said, no, only boy children. She laughed. I mean, that was the most unexpected and dark response to my work. But anyway, and yeah, it sounds, yes, like my work is a little bit strange, and it is, because after all, there's rules and regulations. You can't do human experimentation. People call you a war criminal or a genocidal maniac, so you can't do that. So what do we do? How do we do it? I'm glad you asked. What we do is we introduce these mutations into fruit flies. Yes, so hand on my heart, we actually specifically generate and breed mentally handicapped fruit flies. Yes, not kidding. And you would think a fruit fly isn't exactly an intellectual titan. I mean, you're not exactly seeing them doing crossword puzzles. So how on earth do you tell that the fly is actually mentally handicapped? Well, it's because in the wild, a fruit fly, when it hears a loud noise, it's going to freeze because it thinks there's a predator around. But when it realizes that the big loud noise isn't going to eat them, then they'll go on their merry fruit fly way and go chase some bananas or something. Well, bananas are easy to chase. Anyway, point is, fruit flies have this adaptation. Otherwise, during a thunderstorm, they'd be gathering dust just like, the whole time. They would have to realize the lightning is not going to eat me. But these mentally handicapped flies don't have that ability. So we play them a recording of a slightly scary noise every minute. And each minute, they're like, oh my goodness, did you hear that? Holy crap. Every single time. So we monitor their movements and realize these flies are dumb. I mean, really, very, very dumb. And the best thing about fruit flies, as well as they're easy to work with, is you require almost no permits. I mean, if you happen to, on Tuesday morning, feel like squashing 1,000 flies or ripping their heads off, then that's okay, that's Tuesday morning. Keep doing. What are you doing Wednesday? Oh, 1,000 more flies. Cool. If you want to slightly upset 2 mice, you better have paperwork, and I am not kidding. I mean, if you want to inconvenience 5 mice, holy crap, you better have a justification. You asked if you can upset 10, they're going to turn you down like a bedspread. 5 or nothing. It's like, I'll take 5, thank you. So we do work with mice. And here's the funny thing of recent times is, I was introducing someone to our work, and I said, as well as making mentally handicapped fruit flies, big laugh, is then I said, well, of course, because after all, mice are slightly smarter than flies. Who knew? That, mice can at least run through mazes and do stuff like that. We have actually made autistic mice. And all this effort, I mean, I studied for 8 years at university, I worked for 10 years learning genetic manipulation, and spent all this money and all this time creating these autistic mice, and Donald Trump just realized we can just give them Tylenol. Boom! I mean, wow! It makes me feel vaguely silly spending all that effort. But anyway, thank you RFK Jr. and Donald Trump for that. But genuinely, we have made autistic mice. But yes, I know you're probably thinking, or hopefully thinking, mice, it's not like they alphabetize their shoes or only want to eat chicken nuggets while Thomas the Tank Engine's on TV. So, what do mice do that makes them so autistic? And the answer being, they're antisocial. We can actually use clever, intelligent computer models to monitor the mice, and they don't like hanging out with other mice. They're a little bit sort of standoffish. So yeah, we can actually measure that in a mouse. So, pardon me. And so yes, we've actually managed to, that's not our end goal. We're actually trying to understand why they're autistic. But, this is one of the weird things that we do along the way. But hey, funny story or quick history lesson. I know I'm a scientist, but also I'm a legacy scientist. My grandfather was also a scientist, and my grandmother. And so yeah, runs in the family, genetics and all that. And I bet you're thinking, well, gosh, what did your grandfather do that was so special? I'm glad you asked. He was actually a pioneer in the research behavior of winkles, which are a small little sort of crustacean that lives on a rock, and which, yeah, I know you're thinking, what a valuable and important thing to do. He was actually the first man to get winkles to breed in captivity. Because normally, for some reason, scientists would take winkles from their natural habitat, they would put them in tanks, they would add them seawater, bring them rocks, nothing. No hanky and or panky from these winkles. Winkles, just little crustacean legs just stayed together, nothing's on the menu. However, my grandfather, for reasons that nobody understands, just got a mug of seawater, put some winkles in a margarine tub, suddenly it's like he broke out the tequila and put on Barry White. Those winkles were getting busy with it. So the whole scientific community was flipped on its head. Suddenly, oh my goodness, the secret to winkle breeding is flora margarine. So genuine, reputable scientists were recreating this. They had to go to supermarkets, empty out margarine tubs, and sure enough, anytime you wanted more winkles, that was the only way to do it. And he stumbled across this in my grand's kitchen by accident one fine day. So that was his claim to fame. Well, also, he was given the chance to name 3 subspecies of winkles. And you think, wow, what's he going to do? Is he going to name them after, I don't know, the 3 Musketeers? Maybe his 3 children? But no, he named them, wait for it, A, B, and C. Well, good opportunity. Nice one, Grandpa. Well caught, okay. That's just me. Anyway, I would have named them something hilarious. Definitely not A, B, and C. Anyway, oh golly, that's me almost out of time, and you guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Andrew ferenbach! All right, that was the first one. We'll move on to our second comedian of tonight.